Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin Schwarz and I am a gallery assistant here at the Pence. So today I am seated upstairs in the Learning Center and I am surrounded by the beautiful works of Laurelin Gilmore and Liz Webb. Their show has been extended till the beginning of May, and although we are closed as of now until April 7th amidst the coronavirus pandemic, I thought it would be a great time to bring some positivity and joy into your homes. And I was inspired by the images of springtime that we see in Laurelin Gilmore and Liz Webb's work. So with the proper social distancing practices, I figured this is a great craft that you guys can do at home. And so we are going to do this little sewing project today. So please stay tuned and we can see exactly how to create something like this. I'm going to go over quickly the materials that we will need for this project. So you will need something like this. This is called an embroidery hoop. If you don't have something like this, that's totally fine. You don't necessarily need it. It just helps kind of create the fabric to be a little bit more taut so that you can easily work with it. You will also need a piece of fabric. I am using some embroidery fabric that I got at the craft store several months ago now. If you don't have anything like this, just find a little scrap of something and you could totally use that, even like an old t-shirt or something like that. Then you're going to need a pencil. You're going to need some little scissors. You will need a needle, preferably with a big eye in it so that we can get the thread through easily, but if not, we can work with it. And then you're also going to need a selection of embroidery floss or thread. So today, I've already started this a little bit. We are creating some little daisies. I have done most of the work already, just so that you could see kind of what the finished product is going to look like. So we will be learning 2 embroidery stitches today. Totally okay if you've never embroidered before. I am a beginner as well. We will be learning how to do the back stitch and the lazy daisy stitch to create something like this. So the first thing you're going to do is get your floss. I'm going to use a dark green to finish up the stem that we see here. And you're just going to pull about, I like to do about an arm's length, just so that nothing gets tangled. You'll go ahead and snip that. So I like to get it nice and flat and just push it through. And then I always like to do it like this, where I keep a tail, and then on this end I'm going to tie a knot. So we'll do that. And then just for security, I do another knot. All right. So this is how we get started on the back stitch. I'm going to start from this end, and you can see I've already kind of drawn my pattern that I'm following, so that's what I use the pencil for. You can also do be creative, you don't have to draw something exactly like this. You could do more straight vines. I wanted to do a little bit of these curvilinear lines to kind of give it some movement, but do what you like to do. So you're going to go ahead and pull the thread through, and then you are going to stitch right through that fabric again and pull that through. So you'll get a little stitch that looks like that. So now to start the back stitch, what we're going to do is we're going to come from behind the fabric and pull our needle through, and then we're going to actively go backwards and stitch where the other stitch ended. And we're going to push the needle through and pull it all the way through. And so we're just going to continue that process until we meet at the end here. So again, we're going to bring the needle through the fabric, pull it all the way through, and connect it to our previous stitch. And I will continue on doing that until we meet up with that end. All right. So with that, we have now completed our stem. And so now we're going to move on to finishing up the leaves and the flowers. So next, we're done with the back stitch, so we're going to move that aside and we're going to focus now on the lazy daisy stitch. So here you can see I've drawn a little leaf, and we are going to bring our needle right at the base of that leaf. And we're going to go ahead and pull the needle through. Now, what we're going to do now is going to poke the needle right back in at the base of the leaf, and before we pull the needle all the way through, we're going to tilt it up and come out at the point of our leaf. And then we're going to take our thread that we haven't pulled through yet and loop it around just the tip of that needle. And sometimes when you're working with embroidery floss, it gets a little stuck, but there we go. So we just looped it around right at the top of the needle. And now we're going to go ahead and pull that needle through. All right, so now that we've pulled our needle all the way through, we want to make sure that we secure this little loop that we've created. So you're going to take your needle and thread and poke it through right at the top of the leaf you've created. And you're going to poke that through and pull it through the fabric. So now you can see you've created a little loop, but you've secured the top of it, and that creates the perfect leaf shape. So we're going to go ahead and finish the other two leaves that we see here. Okay, and now to secure off your thread, what I like to do is I flip it over, and I usually like to find a loop or something that I can kind of get through, and I poke my needle through it, and before I pull it all the way through, I then have this loop that I twist my needle around twice, and then I just go ahead and pull it, and that creates a knot for me. So I'm going to go ahead and snip this, and we will next get started on the flowers. All right, so I've gone ahead and just cut another arm's length of green thread, and I'm going to show you how we kind of create the little central part of our flower. So you can choose any color for this. I'm going to keep with the same green color, but if you want to mix it up, that's totally fine to do. So I've already put the little knot at the end of our thread. So we're going to go ahead and poke through the bottom of our fabric, or the underside, and bring the needle all the way through. And so I've drawn this little circle, and that's roughly the shape I'm going to keep to, but now I'm just going to stitch little lines of thread right next to each other. I think I'm going to do about 3, just so that we give a little bit of a shape to the center part of this flower. And you can see I'm just going back and forth, poking the needle through, pulling it through, and then poking it through about maybe 1/2 inch up, and then bringing it through again just to create some little bit of a shape there. Technically this is called a satin stitch, but I'm not doing it perfectly. It's more so just so that we can get a little bit of shape there. So I'm going to go ahead and tie this off. So I've left myself a little bit of a tail when I tied my original knot, and I'm just going to tie these two pieces together into a knot. I like to just do it twice to make sure it's secure. I'm going to tie that, and then we're going to go ahead and just snip that off. And now we're going to continue with the petals of our flowers. So I've already done yellow and a lighter orange. I think I want to go for a bit of a darker orange now. So we're going to do the same thing that we did with the leaves to create the petals of the flowers. So again, we're going to do the lazy daisy stitch. So again, we're going to poke through from the bottom at the base of our petal, so closest to the central part of our flower. We're going to go ahead and pull that through. And then we're going to poke through again at the base, but before we pull the needle all the way through, we're going to turn it again so that we kind of poke through right at the tip of where we want our petal to end. And then we're going to take our thread, wrap it around the tip of the needle, and then pull the needle through so that we get that nice loop created. And then we're just going to secure it off. And I'm going to go ahead and continue that for the rest of the flower petals. And the good thing about embroidery is that if you mess up or if you don't like something, it's very easy just to snip the thread and take it out, and you can totally start over. So I think it's a very forgiving craft to learn, in that if you're kind of still practicing and experimenting, it doesn't matter if you make a mistake, and you might end up even liking the mistake, and then you keep that. Your design can always change. All right, so I've gone ahead and finished up our flowers. So this is what the final product looks like. I think it looks pretty good. I like it. So now I'm going to show you how we can go ahead and finish off the raw edges if you do have an embroidery hoop and that's what you are using. If you don't have this hoop, that's totally okay. You could just take it out and then you'd have like a little fabric swatch with some embroidery on it. You can also totally do this to embellish a t-shirt or maybe a pair of pants, like a pocket detail or something like that. So you know, be creative and have some fun at home right now. So if you do have the embroidery hoop and you want to know how to kind of get these edges to kind of wrap around so it looks nice and clean, all you do, take your thread and you are going to just kind of stitch around the edges of the loop. And I'll go ahead and I'll do this kind of quick. They don't need to be perfectly aligned or anything like that, because the sole purpose of this is really just to get the edges to kind of wrap around your hoop. So we'll just finish that up. And this is, by the way, called the basting stitch, where you literally just kind of weave the needle through the fabric. So you actually know now how to do 2 more difficult stitches than the basting stitch. I would say the basting is the easiest. And as we go, we can actually pull our thread taut so that you can see how it starts to wrap right around the edge. We're going to pull it nice and taut. And then normally what I just like to do is I quickly will go ahead and finish off the bottom edge, pull it through, make sure everything is nice and tight so that all the fabric has kind of gathered around the back. And then since I left a little bit of a tail here, I'm going to go ahead, tie a knot. And I like to just do 2 knots just to make sure it's really nice and secure. And then we can go ahead and snip that. And then you will have your finished little embroidery piece. So I hope that you all are doing well and staying healthy, and that this will bring some joy and positivity into your household. I enjoy doing it. And you can also, I know you can't come to the gallery right now as we're closed, but these images are available on our Facebook page if you would like to see some of them close up. And I hope that that will inspire you like it did for me. Thank you for watching.